What if I told you there's a new Grand Theft Auto that we will never see? I'm talking about a GTA 6 that was developed over many years and mostly ended up in the trash. And of course, for purely commercial reasons. The best part is that this story, which came to light just a few months ago, is the puzzle piece that explains all the events we have experienced with this company in recent years. The drought of announcements, or the improvised projects launched quickly and poorly. The departure of important people from the company, the low motivation of Rockstar employees, and hundreds of leaks that ultimately amounted to nothing. Everything makes sense and can be explained through this story that emerged a few months ago. GTA 6 was cancelled to make another GTA 6. The Twitter user Gaming Detective developed a huge thread, further expanding the information you're about to hear. And of course, it has been a great help to be able to present it to you in this video. You will have it in the description so you can read it, save it, like it, follow him, or whatever you want. But after the video, of course. Surely you all remember it, the golden era before GTA 6. A time that we could more or less place at the end of the past decade, in those last years that would soon give way to the 20s, where we are now. GTA 6 was everywhere, and its imminent announcement seemed increasingly like a short-term reality. In those times, it was said that the new GTA would be set in Vice City, Latin America, in the 1980s, and its story would mainly focus on drug trafficking, making a fairly consistent reference to drug lords and the story of Pablo Escobar. This rumor was so detailed that it even mentioned the return of a young Martin Madrazo. Well, it sounds a bit ridiculous, but you get what I mean. I'm sure all these details sound familiar to you. There was a time when this was the only thing talked about when GTA 6 was mentioned. They say that where there's smoke, there's fire. With a new Red Dead that was becoming more distant, a GTA Online receiving less and less content, and the many hints that emerged back then, the announcement seemed just a matter of time. But months passed, and years passed, and nothing ever came. The silence, once again, covered the entire scene. The leaks stopped coming, and the frustration and sadness of some hopeful fans were the only things that filled that infinite void. That's how it was until 3 years later when GTA 6 was leaked, and we see a video game that, without judging whether it's better or worse, is not at all similar to what everyone expected. But how is that possible? If everything we heard about the video game was related to that story and that setting of Vice City, Latin America, and the narco story. Rockstar itself was testing weapons from the 80s years before in Red Dead Redemption 2 under the codename Project Americas, and we were able to find those files and bring them to light. This user here, whose name I won't try to pronounce, was someone who, going back to those years, was sharing some information about GTA 6. Although it is something that, of course, anyone could do, what made this person stand out was accurately predicting the trailers for Red Dead Redemption 2 and predicting the submarine in GTA Online for the Cayo Perico DLC. It is true that the user ended up with quite a bad reputation in the forums because it seems there came a point where they wanted to oversell too much. But considering all these correct predictions that made them stand out among the many frauds we encounter every day, I can tell you that this user took a gamble once more by giving a date for the GTA 6 trailer, March 2020. It is obvious that this time he was not right, but later we will see how a cancelled announcement in the spring of 2020 could make everything fit quite well. At the beginning of the year 2020, several factors occurred that we could consider vital to make sense of this story. Dan Houser suddenly leaves Rockstar Games. An epidemic puts the world in check and forces us to stay at home and work from there, making everything slow down even more. And the great contradiction arises, the news from none other than Jason Schreier. A name that surely rings a bell because he was the journalist who, just hours before Rockstar published the first announcement mentioning that the trailer for GTA 6 would arrive in December, released an article saying that Rockstar would announce the trailer for GTA 6 that same week. My friend, the least brazen, and it wasn't a shot in the dark. This man already had quite a big reputation long before, and the way he risked it by releasing that information, what a disturbing fact. It makes quite clear the reliable source from which he extracted that information, because otherwise, this man wouldn't risk his reputation there, you can be very sure of that. But going back to 2020, this gentleman published an article that none of us could or wanted to believe. We didn't take it into account because it seemed impossible at that point, but it basically stated that GTA 6 at that time, starting in 2020 and 7 years after the previous GTA, was in its early stages of development. Something that made us hold our heads in disbelief just thinking that we had been waiting 7 years for news of a game that at that moment seemed closer than ever. And a highly credible source was confirming to us that they had just started creating it. Simply a nightmare from which we wished to wake up. But it was then that the great contradiction arose. The insider, Ted Funk, who also has a certain reputation in the community, contradicted Jason's claims and ventured to say that development began in 2014 and was about 70% complete. A ray of light to which we blindly clung. Perhaps guided by the heart much more than by reason, I think we all wanted to believe Ted over Jason. Serious mistake. And that remained there, but the fact is that we never got that announcement. Until we received the sad news. Chris Clippert, journalist and founder of Rockstar Mag, and of course, with significant influence in all this mess, revealed sometime later that GTA 6 had undergone a reboot when Dan Houser left, early 2020. In some way, it was making sense of Jason's previous statement that the game was in its early stages of development. And this already made it much more possible that the reality we didn't want to accept was the truth. And of course, Ted's contradiction about the game being 70% complete and having been in development since 2014 is also true. But it lacked the information Chris just gave us, which Jason did have when he made that sad statement and for which they called him crazy, really. Being an insider who may or may not receive information, and it may be of varying quality, clearly did not know that fact, which Jason did know due to his great contacts within the company, which I believe he has proven to have quite well. So the game that would have started development in 2014, which Ted was talking about to somehow invalidate the terrible news that Jason revealed to us in 2020, referred to another game, another GTA that we will never see. A GTA 6 based in the 1980s, with a drug trafficking theme and a story heavily influenced by Narcos, which would have been announced in the spring of the year 2020 and very possibly by today would already be coming out. But the other GTA 6, the one they just announced to us, is the one that has been in development for only 3 or 4 years, in quotes. Because here a clarification must be made, obviously not the entire previous project would have gone to waste. Parts of the map, parts of the city, and timeless models would already be created and would have been reused. But of course, the script, motion capture, cinematics, the vehicle system, the NPCs dressed in period clothing, and other content created for that GTA 6 set in the 80s could not have been reused for this new concept of GTA 6 that has been presented to us. Does this mean that the video game has only been in development for 4 years? Number. What it means is that the development restarted 4 years ago. But a restart does not mean going from that 70% they had to 0, because the city is still there. Many vehicles, even if they are old, can become part of the game again, playing the role of classics this time. Mechanics, weather systems, animals, all that was already created, and of course, it will work the same in the 1980s as it does today. But having to restart the entire part of the story development, actors, motion capture and so on, is a significant percentage to subtract from that 70%, and of course, quite a few more years to add to the development of GTA 6. And if this whole story is true, it's clear that the announcement and release of the game have been delayed these 3 or 4 years we've experienced. This perspective makes a lot of sense as to why Dan Houser left Rockstar Games upon seeing that a project written by him, which at that time had been in development for 6 years, was scrapped, forcing almost the entire story to start over. For the founder of Rockstar, it could have even felt like a lack of respect to throw away the script on which he probably spent the last years of his career at the company working. And one way we will have to verify if this story is real is with the game's credits. With the credits of GTA 6, because if Dan Houser is not there, or is there but not in the writers category, it will mean that the story of Jason and Lucia is not his, and therefore all this will sadly be a reality. Of course, this explains the great drought we experienced those years and the remasters that Rockstar decided to develop in a hurry to not leave such a big gap in those early years of this decade. Think about how Rockstar explains to Take-Two that the game that will make them ultra-trillionaires will have to wait 3 or 4 more years because they have been writing a story for 6 years that they believe won't be as commercial. All this also explains the demotivation of Rockstar employees, who of course will also be affected by the big hack and recent leaks, but surely this point also did quite a bit of damage to the company back then. The drought of downloadable content in their current online modes, and of course, the low quality of these. And in this last point, there is an exception, and it is the missing piece to understand all this perfectly. Because what happened with that GTA 6 that Rockstar decided never to release? It would be very strange if they had simply thrown away much of the years of work they invested in developing that entire world in the 1980s. Where could all that content be? Welcome to Cayo Perico, an island in Colombia clearly based on Pablo Escobar's estate, where a powerful drug lord operates with his henchmen, curiously accompanied by a strong 80s influence in terms of most of the vehicles that came with this DLC. Ancient weapons, a large number of Easter eggs from their previous game, Red Dead Redemption 2, as well as many other completely new mysteries that would be on the level of a new GTA, such as, for example, the Loch Ness Monster and vegetation flooding the island with a style, quality, and variety completely different from what we can find in the rest of the map. The Cayo Perico DLC was the dumpster where Rockstar Games threw the cancelled GTA 6, which they had been developing since the year 2014, and where, of course, they gathered everything that could not be reused for their new project with Jason and Lucia. The map that was cut from the game they just showed us, the part of Latin America, curiously where the island of Cayo Perico is located, which obviously will not be the entire expanse of land they had planned for that GTA 6, but it is an island created to concentrate and include all that vegetation, those biomes, those structures, vehicles and objects that they were not going to use in the end in Grand Theft Auto 6. Because Cayo Perico, being outside the country, also has its own automotive market. And in case there was any doubt, this is so blatant that the dates fit perfectly with everything I just told you in this video, since Cayo Perico came out at the end of 2020. But they told us that its development began at the beginning of that same year, which seemed very strange to many of us at the time, that such a large DLC expanding the map in this way could have been developed in less than a year by a company that takes weeks to fix any vulnerability, months and years to correct a broken game, decades to release new games, and until now, they had only included much smaller updates than this, with some missions, new characters, vehicles, and little more, and taking almost the same time to develop them. And all this under a supposed development stage of the next GTA that should be overwhelming them. And the thing is, Cayo Perico turned out to be such a large and incredible DLC developed in record time because it was practically already done. They are the pieces of a destroyed GTA 6 that would have transported us to an incredible city like Vice City, creating one of the most amazing maps we have ever played, considering the involvement of Latin America in the expansion of its territory and in such a magical era as the 1980s. With a drug trafficking theme quite different from the heist theme we have been stuck with for a whole decade. This Grand Theft Auto 6, which was practically finished and about to be announced, having left us a trailer 3 years ago, was possibly cancelled for purely commercial reasons. Everything suggests that they simply did not see an online Grand Theft Auto as profitable in an old era due to technological limitations. They came from the failure of Red Dead Online for the same reason and possibly preferred to change the direction of the game to prepare a much more commercial GTA 6 that can sustain them during the coming years until they release a new game in this series again. Since clearly Rockstar's plan is to repeat the success of GTA 5 and GTA Online at all costs. And this is precisely why the change in focus. And it was the same Rockstar that developed the deep and exciting story of Red Dead Redemption 2, who was developing this cancelled GTA 6. This story that we will never see and that they have probably decided to change for a much more entertaining plot, with a more comedic approach in the style of GTA 5 to avoid repeating what usually happens with games as deep and dark as GTA 4 or Red Dead, which have a much shorter lifespan. At least, much more than a purely commercial product like GTA 5. No matter how much the story impacts its players and really hits them in the heart, if there is no technology to sell you an Oppressor Mk3, a super tank with the latest technology, a jetpack with missiles, and fill the game with missions featuring secret and technological super facilities guarded by state-of-the-art robots, then clearly the project does not interest them. And if someone doesn't like it, well, they can just leave, which is exactly what happened. We will miss you, Dan Houser. We will only have to travel to Cayo Perico, stroll through its lands, delve into its vegetation, drive its vintage vehicles, and try to feel those remnants of the soul of the cancelled GTA 6, which will forever rest in this infernal paradise. The most beautiful dump where the GTA 6 that could have been and never was rests, and which we will never ever be able to play. And you, what do you think about it? Would you have liked to see this version of GTA 6? Leave me your opinion in the comments. This was GTA 6 Empire. Don't forget to subscribe and give a little like if you enjoyed the video. As for me, I'll see you very soon for a new exclusive video.